My first encounter that I remember was, I think I was about 12 or 13 years old. Up to that point, we had heard about God. We were traditionally Catholic. Go to church, be quiet, don't peep, don't look, don't breathe. So when I first had my first experience was I got invited to a youth camp, actually. And my mom, wanted me out of the house, because I was getting on her nerves. And so she said, yeah, take them, please. Being where I was and how I grew up, on the first day I got to camp, I got into a physical fight. I was about to be kicked out of the camp. I was going to be sent home that day. And my youth pastor, my first youth pastor ever, which I met that night when I got in a fight, he says, no, he needs to stay here. We can't send him home. He has to stay here. And so he kept me from being sent home. But anyways, that night there was an awesome preaching. I look back now, hindsight, God was massaging my heart through that whole message, through the word. And so at the end of the sermon, there was an altar call. And, I was like really, really embarrassed, to go up there. Not just because, I got in a fight earlier and stuff, but it was just weird to me, Okay, why are we going up? Why is everybody going up? Why are people crying and being all weird? And, is it gonna hurt? That was my biggest thing. Is it gonna hurt? Because everybody's crying up there and stuff, and all kinds of stuff are going through my mind. And what are they gonna do to me? Why do I have to get on my knees? Get on your knees was something that was done when you were being held hostage or violent. There's some history there, but when I was invited up there, that's when I first understood that getting on your knees was a sign of submission, of respect, of humbling your not just your physical, but also your heart. And so it was weird because I got on my knees and it just felt right. And so that night, I got that same feeling when I went up to the altar. I felt that same presence, that same authority, but also sweetness and love and peace at that moment. And so I was like, okay, I think this is safe to do. And my youth pastor at that time that I met that night got next to me and he says, we're gonna pray with you. And they said, close your eyes and just focus on God and just tell God straight up what you feel and what you want to what you want to know or feel about Him. And so I just says, I remember clearly. All I said was, I says, I'm not sure, if you're really there. I don't know what this is all about. I says, but if you really exist, I remember I clearly said that. I says, and this is all real. I says, let me feel and experience something that confirms it. If these people are crying because they're happy, not because they're feeling pain, I think I want to feel that, And it was a really choppy prayer, but I started praying and suddenly I felt it, chills just coming down from the top of my head. I had hair back then, so from the top of my hair and just through my body, it was just warm, like just a warmth that I had never felt. And within that warmth, it was almost like a message of love that was coming through. It's really hard to explain, but it's a moment that you never forget, because when you step into the presence of love, it's a real love. God's love it's definitely it's almost like a traumatic experience that burns into your memory and your heart, and I think it's what they call your first love. But anyways, I remember feeling that, and I remember I said, if this thing that these people are doing with their tongue, this language that they're speaking, or whatever it is, I don't understand it, but if that's part of this whole experience, I want to experience it. And so I just kept praying, and then suddenly I realized that while I was praying and saying words in my mind, my lips started stammering, and stammering, and it wasn't because I was cold. It was almost out of, like, I had no control over it, really, to tell you the truth. It was really, but it felt right within that moment, and that was kind of what happened. My lips started stammering, and then I started trying to blurb out words. And when I would blurb out the words that I was thinking, they would come out in just a weird, language. My tongue would move weird, and I started making these sounds and stuff, and it kind of felt really weird. Yeah, it was. I wanted to stop, but I didn't want to stop because of the feeling and emotion, everything that was coming behind it. It just felt right and good, and but I just kept. I kept going with it, and then suddenly the floodgates opened. I started crying because it's overwhelming peace and joy and emotion and crying. I mean, I wanted to cry, and I never wanted to stop crying because it felt like I had never cried ever in my life. And as I was crying, it was like something was being lifted off of me. And yeah, that was really it. And that was as much as I could explain at that moment about that experience. It was an intimate moment with God. And I really never understood what the Holy Spirit was. But slowly after that experience, different youth pastors and ministers and people that I had known began to slowly explain to me what that meant and what it implied to my life. And that was I think that was the earliest memory of me encountering the Holy Spirit as I can remember it. Yeah.